Because the crew will cement the casing string in place, they also have to install some special devices on the string, which come into play during the cementing operation. The guide shoe is a heavy steel and concrete fitting that the crew makes up on the end of the first casing joint to go in the hole. It guides the casing past rough spots and ledges in the wellbore. It also has an opening in the end. Drilling mud enters this opening when the crew runs the casing into the wellbore. Later, cement will come out of this opening on its way into the annulus. Usually, the crew installs a float collar in the second or third casing joint run into the wellbore. Or sometimes they install a float shoe. Whether a float shoe or a float collar is used, each has a one-way valve in it. Fluids can flow downward through the valve, but cannot flow upward past the valve. The float collar or float shoe keeps drilling mud from entering the casing string as the crew runs it into the hole. Keeping the casing empty of mud allows the casing to partially float in the mud, that is, in the annulus, just as a hollow steel boat floats on water. Letting the casing float cuts down on stress and fatigue on the hoisting equipment. But the crew cannot keep the casing totally empty of mud. If they did, the hydrostatic pressure of the mud in the annulus could crush the casing. So from time to time, the crew puts mud into the inside of the casing from the surface to offset hydrostatic pressure. The float valve also holds the cement in place once it is displaced into the annulus. Otherwise, it would U-tube back into the casing. On various joints of casing, crew members also install centralizers. Centralizers keep the casing from leaning against the side of the hole. In other words, centralizers keep an opening between the outside wall of the casing and the wall of the hole. Centralizers reduce drag and differential sticking while running the casing. Drag is resistance to motion caused by the casing contacting the wellbore. Differential sticking happens when the casing contacts a permeable formation in the wellbore, and the pressure in the hole is greater than the pressure in the formation. The higher hole pressure tends to hold the casing in contact against the area of lower formation pressure. Keeping the casing off the wall of the hole also ensures that cement will surround the outside of the casing and bond it securely to the hole. Another device that helps ensure a good bond of cement to the hole is a scratcher. Depending on the wellbore's characteristics, crew members install several on the casing string. Just before they pump the cement into the casing and hole, they rotate the casing string. Or move it up and down, that is, reciprocate it. Depending on the type of scratchers they install. In either case, the scratchers remove wall cake left by the drilling mud during drilling. Removing the wall cake, solid particles in the mud that stick to the wall of the hole, helps the cement bond better to the hole